You've touched upon the idea of you in climate and investment banking. So I want to understand, how did you pick throughout your life between pragmatic things, right? Money, stability, things you need to have, and purpose. Is there any point where you had to balance that out? How did you make decisions?
Well, actually, I think now in this next step is where I'm balancing this out, because now that I'm taking this step to leave this job, which is working in climate and providing strategic input to a bank, I want to step back and work more on this culture and climate component. And I know that I probably will not be paid as much as working for a bank on climate strategy, but I just have a feeling that it may have even more impact to work in via this avenue. I was inspired by my own sister, who actually has a full-time job, and only recently, in the last year, she's also in her 50s, decided that she would focus outside of work on her passion for connecting people via this classical form of music, which is both in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the South Asia region. And she's created this intimate setting, and it's bringing her a lot of joy. And she's suddenly also got recognition from her community. She's actually going to frontline the Brighton Festival. So her programs on 10th, 11th May, if anyone wants to come
Guys,
in
go.
Brighton.
Exactly.
So she really inspired me, because I now am thinking that I was even thinking that I could work with her on the space that she has to bring also climate nature discussions, which are reality aspects, that we have to be clear that in the global geopolitical lexicon, we have this viewpoint that migration is bad. We have to see the reality that because of climate, we will inevitably have migration. We're already having migration because of climate, but I know that there's this viewpoint that it's something that borders are there to keep people out. I think that taking a cultural route where you have evidence of migration actually enriching the cultures and having cross-cultural engagement. We're having a cross-cultural engagement here.
You are a
Bianca.
cross-cultural production.
But you're from Romania, you were brought up
Right.
there, and you have
Yes.
your viewpoint from there. I mean, I haven't even been to Romania.
Right.
And we're having this conversation. I think there's
Cross-cultural
a
pollination.
there's a merger, and there's ideas that are from your culture, the ideas that are from my multiculture, which then gets enriched. So I know that I'm not going to be earning that much in the next chapter of my life. I'm fine with that. I'm going to be in my small house. I'm fortunate to be in that position, because I think for many people, they don't have a choice.
You're saying that you're fortunate now to make a choice that it's not necessarily imperiling your life. So it's more of a courageous decision to challenge again who you are, to pursue a new interest. Do you have any career advice for people who might have to balance out this purpose work? For example, they want to work in development, but development careers do not necessarily provide the same financial well-being as another job in the industry. What would be your advice to these people?
Main advice is go with what you think is going to be valuable for your community or the global community. And from my experience, I found that's always helped me get my feet on the ground wherever I am. Perhaps I'm fortunate, but I just think that it's helped me to have that compass. So my advice would be find your compass. And I think I don't want to generalize though, but I think that there is a lot more awareness now amongst the younger generation to see that there's another way of doing things, and the other way is very much looking at also mimicking the intricacies of nature, because when you start delving into the natural world, you realize many of the solutions are there. So I think whatever you're doing, whether you're an artist, you're an engineer, scientist, economist, walk out into nature, study it, study nature, and you will get solutions from it.
Okay. We haven't touched upon very important question. So let me just ask you, what was the downside of just having this international career? If there were hard moments, how you felt their impact and how you managed those feelings. So they are aware if they want to aspire to having such a
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
what are the things that they should be aware of?
In my case, because I've been moving around since I was born in Zambia, and then 5 years and 4 years and 2 years in different places. Our family, what we did is we would have interaction with the people who are from that country rather than just be amongst the expatriates. And I know some people still just socialize amongst the expatriates, but if you want to be creating a real long-term community and connection, and even more so now, because now when you move to a different country, you have your social media connection. It's not that you're going to lose contact like in the past when I was growing up, but so I would, I know there are challenges because you set up a community and then you're going to leave, and therefore when you go back, it's not the same, but it's worth it for those 2 3 years.
And I just want to bring this point up, right? Because you said you just went back to London and you met your writing community, right? Can you just give us 1 minute of what actually
Yeah.
happened there and how did you feel rediscovering a community which you haven't been in touch with for years, decades?
You have a very good memory. So
Thank you very much.
So I told Bianca that I went to London this past December. And I used to go to this poetry night between 1998 and 2008. And I thought, okay, let me contact the main poetry guy who organizes this monthly poetry evening. And he immediately responded. He only communicates by email, he has no phone. And he said, "Oh, lovely, Seleha, you're here. We're delighted. We're going to have a poetry evening. Please come." And he gave me a topic, free fall. I went and I thought, that's the topic. So I went to the session, and it was really interesting. There were a few people who I had known from that period, so just two or three,
Right.
but the rest were newer people who I didn't know, but they
Right.
were all very interesting, but
Right.
still, I think probably even more international than when I was there. And of course, the newer generation.
Yes.
So we reconnected. I did my poem, and then there was a conversation about the poem, and there was such a different type of communication. We used to, in a very theatrical way, do our poetry, and then not really discuss it in this way, which was quite
Direct, straightforward.
Yeah, straightforward. Also
Transparent.
quite self-aware
Right.
as well.
Right.
So,
Critique also, not very British.
well, in this case, they were not critical,
Right.
but I don't think that. Yeah, the way they communicated was very much reflecting on their viewpoint of things, and so it's just saying that the conversations are continuing. So it was lovely to see that. I thought that conversations are evolving still,
Right.
in a different way. So the people in the 1980s communicated in this type of club or poetry evening in a different way than people in the 90s and in the 2000s, and now we're in the 2020s. I think each decade has a somewhat a different way of communicating, and that's why this connection with the environment, it's an evolution. This is the thing that will be important to enrich our careers.
Right. Right. Before I move to my final question to you, I'd like to ask you if you have any piece of wisdom that you've got in your career and you would like to share with our audience. Think about it. if there's any one piece of advice that you've received throughout your career, apart from that CV moment which was super useful, what is the first thing that comes to your mind that you think younger people would benefit of knowing?
Never assume. I'm going to say these 4 points, but they're actually from the Stoic spirits,
Okay.
which are:
What's that?
never assume, always do your best, be impeccable with your word, and don't take anything personally.
I love this.
So these four, keep
Where from?
reminding yourself. I think it's called the Stoic spirit,
Okay.
but actually probably mispronouncing
Tell
it.
us about it.
So this is a philosophy of living, these 4 points. And I find them quite important as a compass, because if you are purposeful and you have this particular purpose, if you keep on assuming about the viewpoint of other people, it's actually you're putting yourself into a cage. If you then also, when you're saying that you're going to do something, the impeccable word aspect, you are engaging with other people. You've got to do that to build trust and to advance your value area. And of course, don't be too hard on yourself as well, so that when you're promising things, just make sure that you're not promising too difficult things. I mean, I'm still learning on these 4 points, and that's why I wanted to share them. And always do your best. I think that's self-evident. You can only do your best. You can't really control anyone else's response or reaction. And fourth is about not taking things personally. This is probably the most difficult for a lot of people because we're humans. So we are also interacting with each other, connecting, we're connecting with the environment. And if someone says, oh, that was not very well thought through, Bianca, why didn't you think about this in this way? You might think, immediately get into a storyline about, oh gosh, pick up something from
Previous
before,
person interactions.
and then, oh, my family said this, and maybe
Yeah.
that's how I am.
Yeah. No, I think
This,
everyone is like this. Yes.
yeah.
Thank
So,
you. I think
yeah.
it's very important advice, and I really like how you have them on your fingers. It's almost like
Four.
tattoos. Yeah,
Yes.
4 principles. I love that. So,
Not mine, it's this
I love.
spiritual.
Yeah, you master. You're trying to master them. So, and then finally, as we conclude our very comprehensive study of your life and lessons, what is happiness to you today? It's a very complicated question, I know.
Yeah.
But if you were to describe it, if it was an object, if it was a day in life, if it was a cake, if it was a feeling or a color, how would happiness look to Seleha?
Peace.
Peace. What
I
is
think
peace?
peace. So I suppose happiness looks to me would be that what we've just discussed. Happiness is not necessarily that you're getting everything that you think that you want. It's acceptance. It's happiness is you accept that you have done whatever you can, and you accept the things as they are.
Right.
So I think happiness comes when you're doing those 4 things, because you then are accept that this is the reality. But I have to say that I have these moments of great happiness, which are when you see a flower or something beautiful. There's this aha moment
Right,
which you
right.
can't really explain, but I think a lot of people have it. It's a moment of inspiration,
Tendence.
transcendence. Yeah, you can't explain. You see the moon or the sun in a particular way, and then you realize that there's something else beyond you just seeing that. There is a moment in time at that
And
point.
across time, because
Yeah,
everyone feels the same, right?
yeah.
We all look at the moon and feel that inexplicable.
but sometimes in a different way. So
Yes.
one, you look at the moon a different way. Maybe you've changed, or
Yeah.
maybe the moon has changed, or whatever. I wanted to say this because it's not something made up. It's in science as well. We are energetically connected in terms as in liquid, gas form,
Right.
solid form, and we also have the unexplained in science, although the unexplained now with the God particle being divided in the halogen collider, we realize that one side will experience the other side, although being miles away. So I think happiness is seeing that magic
Right. That's
and
so
feeling it.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Well, Seleha, we've talked so much. Thank you so much. You've taken me through a roller coaster, the roller coaster of your life, and I appreciate it so much. And I'm sure that many of the people who will watch this will feel inspired and challenged in their convictions, which I think is very useful for young people. And not only young people, but people who will see that there is always an opportunity to reinvent and to follow courageously what you want to do, to revisit things that you might consider at points across your career and do them. How do you feel? Is there anything that you want to share with the audience before we conclude this?
Thank you so much, Bianca, for this. I think this is an opportunity to share, as we've discussed. And I think it's helpful to say that you always have a moment to reinvent yourself. Whether you're 80 years old, 70, 60, I mean, you always do. And you can even see it amongst the celebrities like
Yeah.
Cher, Jane Fonda. They're doing meaningful community work as well.
Thank
Doesn't
you so
matter.
much.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best in your new endeavors. And don't forget, guys, her sister will deliver the performance at Brighton Festival. And you can also join the Poetry Club in London. And if you ever come across Saleha, say hi because she's an amazing professional who shared so many tips with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.